Congratulations, Don Tony and Kevin Castle. It's going to be a huge success that you guys are bringing this podcast back. And you know the song that we sing when we're doing well, especially when we do well in 2024. We in the money. We in the money. Do 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 do. That's right, everybody. Tune in January 1st, all right? The brand new and up-to-date Don Tony and Kevin Castle podcast show coming back in 2024.
It's Saturday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
The wait all week long is finally over. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and much more. The Don Tony Show.
And now, your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy New Year! We are this close away to 2024. I want to welcome you all to the Saturday edition of the Don Tony Show for January. You know why I'm saying January? Because starting January 1st, we are officially back together full time. But our first regular Monday night show will be January 29th, 2024. That is when Kevin and I will be back on Monday nights. Should start, I think, 11:15 p.m. Gives us an extra 5 or 10 minutes to set up. And as the phrase goes, you know, how long are we going to go? Till death do us part. Very, very happy to announce this. People have been asking for this for quite a while. And, you know, big respect for Monty and the Pharaoh, who do an excellent show on TV in Long Island, New York for wrestling. And I'll always remember Monty saying about a year ago, you know, you two guys, you know, you don't have to be friends, you know, to do the shows, to make money. And, you know, I appreciate why he was saying it, because he wanted to see us back together. But for Kevin and I, this is we're approaching our 20th year doing this. We started doing little things together back in 2004. And after 20 years, you got to like your co-host. And we did have some bumps in the road, no question. COVID, not making excuses, but it made it worse. It happened right before COVID. But I'm happy to announce that January 29th, 2024, Kevin and I will be back for the Don Tony and Kevin Castle show. And not only that, if you read the little fine print, we are back to take the crown. We are coming back to take our crown. For many years, we were the #1 most listened to podcast online, period. And we plan on not only coming back full time, but making it the greatest episodes that we have ever done. Now, there are some changes coming. Now, before we get into the wrestling news, before we discuss a little predictions for World's End and NXT, New Year's Evil, and WWE Day 1, we got some Mercedes Moné news, little funny stuff about Goldberg. We also have to pay tribute to 2 wrestlers who passed away, one way too young, and one who used to scare the shit out of me when I was a kid. We'll get into them a little bit later. And then we got the weekend ratings. The absolute best of Raw was the absolute worst rating in the history of Raw. So we'll talk about that. But we've thought about this long and hard. One of the things that we take pride in doing this is to not only maximize everybody's enjoyment, but to make it as easy as this possible for both of us. You know, when you're spending a crazy amount of time preparing, you know, the final product isn't as fun. And one thing that Kevin and I did for 10 plus years, 15 years, is we would go into the show not discussing beforehand what we were going to talk about. You go on any other duo podcasts out there with 2 people, and this is not shade on them or any of them, but they will practice, they will go over notes, they will write transcripts, rehearsals. Kevin and I just hit each other without talking beforehand. And that's why our reactions are so genuine. I just put a retro episode up on Patreon, and it opens up with me doing a rap, making fun of John Cena. And somehow Karen Jarrett gets mixed up in it. And this is about, 15 years ago? Yeah, around there. And Kevin's like, oh, no. But you could hear his reaction was honest because he had no idea that it was coming. But here's the changes, all right? We're going back to audio only with Monday nights. That's how we always did it, and that's how we are going to do it going forward. We will be making our Discord channel available to everyone. It'll be by invitation only, so we don't get any spammers showing up during the shows to try to spam the channel. I will be posting Discord links next week. You have 3 weeks after that to sign up. It's free, and that's where the shows will be live on Monday nights. Now, it'll be available on DonTony.com. It'll be available on Patreon, ad-free episodes. For our channel members on YouTube, you will get a video version, but it's going to pretty much be a thumbnail of the show. And if I want to insert a couple of extra thumbnails during the show about topics we're talking about, I will splice them in. So you get a little bit of graphics on the screen. But Kevin and I are not doing video. So that will be for channel members only. I don't want anybody to be upset at that. The reason why we're going back to audio only is because a lot of you know about Chartable and about Apple and all of the charts as far as the most listened to shows out there. And the ones that are usually at the top of the list are all audio only. And the thing is that when I have a bunch of, outlets out there like iHeart that puts their own video version up, Spreaker puts their own video version up, YouTube puts their video version up. Those are thousands of people that are not included in the stats every week. So when we're ranked 40, 50, 25, 30, we should be in the top 10 every week. So that's how we're doing it. So for every channel member here, how we're going to do it is every channel member will get the shows for that week, for the month. But for the higher tier, because we only have 2 tiers here, the higher tier is going to get retro episodes as well. Right now, all the retro episodes have been popping up on Patreon. I must have uploaded about 45 or 50 of them already. So that's how we're doing it. And the reason why we're even doing a little bit on YouTube is because I am splitting any revenue that comes in with Kev right down the middle. That's why we're doing that. And so basically, if you want to tune in live on Mondays, it's going to be on Discord. And one thing I will tell you is that we are going to show everyone, number one, how many people copied our style over the years. Did you notice the last 5 days that as far as the podcasting world, about 95% of the podcasters that were happy for us are people that don't like me. I mean, go figure. Like, our friends disappeared. Our friends, no love whatsoever, because I think they realize at the end of the day, we're taking this shit very seriously. We are going balls out. Mondays will be 2 to 3 hour shows. They will not be an hour, 90 minutes. They will go 2-3 hours like old school. And as a result, some of the other shows are going away for a little while. I don't plan on doing a show on Wednesdays. Patreon will still be Tuesdays. On the weekend, we're going to do the sit down. We have to figure out if we're going to do the sit down on Saturdays or Sundays. So that is the basic deal. So during the week, you're going to get retro episodes. You're going to get the Don Tony Kevin Castle show. You'll get the sit down episode. If I have to do a special episode here and there, we will. But January 29th will be the first week that we are back on Mondays on a regular basis. We will be doing a Royal Rumble prediction show a week before. So I don't want anybody to think that Kevin and I are doing nothing between now and January 29th. But mark it down, January 29th, we will be back. And for those out there that will be a little bit disappointed, that they will not be able to access the show, especially on a video basis if you're not a channel member. Look, I've said it before, and I don't mean to be an asshole about it, but I don't like being someone's third and fourth choice. If you choose to tune into other people live, then you snooze, you lose. And that's just the way it goes. One thing we're also going to do is we're going to show everyone how many Texas sharpshooters are out there. And it's happening right now with a Jericho story. You know, and it was funny because when I announced that I was going to go live today, you know, to put the announcement up and talk news, I guess we could talk about this right at the beginning. And I wasn't going to talk about the Jericho story. But I told someone on social media, somebody pays me to talk about it, I will. That's not a money grab. The fact is, we do not know now the facts. I know there's a lot of people that do not like Jericho because of the CM Punk stuff, because of his Christmas drunken tweets. I ripped him apart for that. Some people don't like him because he's a Republican. His wife showed up at the January 6th insurrection. Some people don't like him because he's AEW through and through. There's a lot of reasons why people don't like Chris Jericho. But you do not take all of that and use that to add credence to an allegation. And sexual assault is a very serious allegation. And, you know, I said, if somebody wants to pay me, then I'll talk about it. I don't want to talk about it right now because we don't know the truth. I'm not going to be one of these Texas sharpshooters. And I know some of you right now saying, what's a Texas sharpshooter? Well, I'll explain. But I want to give a shout out to Mikey Ravello, who sent me the 10 spot before we went live. Any comments about the Kylie Ray allegations against Chris Jericho? Okay. My answer to that is this. We do not know what is true and what is not true. We do not know what happened. If Chris Jericho committed the assault that he's being accused of, I don't care how high up he is in AEW, I think something would have been done about it. Now, Kylie Ray, I don't know her personally. She comes off as a wonderful person who has had some issues. You know, people struggle physically, emotionally. I root for her. You know, I mean, she's had a pretty rough bunch of years. You know, people root for her. What I hope is not happening, and I don't think it is, and I'll tell you why. I have not seen anything anywhere where Kylie Ray says that about him. I see other people saying things, but I don't hear from her. And what I am a little bit tired of, I've seen it for 15 plus years now, is there's this weird thing that happens with assault and abuse and death threats, where instead of people calling the legal authorities, calling police, they go on social media instead. I remember this guy, you know who he is, I'm not going to mention his name, but he ran to Twitter to tell everyone that somebody was doxing his kids' information, threatening to kill him and his family. I didn't believe it. You know why I didn't believe him? Because he ran to Twitter instead of running to the cops. So I decided to do one up. Online, you could go on the FBI's website and report what you believe is a cybercrime. And I went on the FBI's website and I reported that crime, the allegations of it, and I DM'd this person. And I posted it publicly on Twitter. I said, look, I just reported this to the FBI. Whoever is doing this to this guy and his family is going to get in trouble. And if this guy's making this up so he could get a whole bunch of heart emojis, he's going to get in trouble. I don't know what ended up coming from that, but you would think that if somebody threatened my wife, my kids, if I had any, my parents, and somebody tries to help and goes to the FBI for me, you would think the first thing I would say to that person is, look, man, you didn't have to do that, but thank you. This person never thanked me. Never even like, you know, good looking or thank you for doing it. Never responded. And to me, that's weird because when someone goes to that level, too many people online make these accusations and they never go to the cops. And please don't tell me Me Too, and please don't tell me, well, they're afraid to come forward. You're on fucking social media getting 9,500 heart emojis and support, and we love you, we love you, we love you. It's out there. Since everybody knows, why didn't you go to the cops? So I don't know what this story is yet. I don't know if Chris Jericho did this. If Chris Jericho did this, I will be here ripping him a new asshole. But as of right now, despite how you feel about Chris Jericho, we don't know the facts. People want to be Texas sharpshooters in the wrestling media world, and I'll finally now reveal what is a Texas sharpshooter. Okay. When I say this, you probably have never heard this fallacy term before. But when I say this, you're going to look at Ringside News. You're going to look at all these podcasts. You're going to be like, sharpshooter, 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 sharpshooter. What a Texas sharpshooter is pretend you're shooting at a bullseye. Pretend you have a bullseye and you're shooting at the bullseye. You shoot the bullseye. Look, everybody, I nailed it. I hit the bullseye. I nailed the story. Okay, what a Texas sharpshooter does is they shoot the wall. And after they shoot the wall, they draw the rings around where the hole is. So it looks like they nailed the bullseye. Put it out there first, and then try to find things in order to make it look like the bullseye. You see it with Mercedes Moné. You see it with CM Punk. You see it with the Chris Jericho stuff. You see it with WWE going back to TV 14. AEW signed a $1.4 billion deal with Warner Media. These are Texas sharpshooters. These are people that will just put shit out there and then try to draw the bullseye around it and then eventually say, see, I told you 3 months ago that CM Punk was coming back. See, I told you 6 months ago that AEW was landing this deal. They shoot first and draw the target later. I fucking hate that. I have never done my shows around that. And now, since you know what that is, how many people out there in the wrestling media and the podcast world would you classify as Texas sharpshooters? Almost all of them, right? Well, once I get more information about this, see the Liv Morgan stuff? I had a few people, it was cute. I didn't even answer them, but last couple of days, did you see Mike Johnson got the police report for Liv Morgan's arrest? And I was so tempted, but I didn't even bother. If you tuned in to my original report, I read the fucking police report. I read the report. I made sure that before I hit the bullseye that I have the target there. Everything that we said. She had a bag in the back of a car. She drives a whole bunch of people around, and that wasn't her vape pen, but it was in her vicinity, and that's why she was arrested for it. Everything that we said. It's just the reason why it seems like there's additional news now is because people left out a lot of things early on because they loved Liv Morgan, not because they wanted to give you the whole story. So, to be continued about the Chris Jericho, Kylie Ray stuff. If it is true, this man deserves to be fired. This man deserves to be fired. I'm not, listen, I don't know Chris Jericho personally. I don't know Kylie Ray personally. I can't turn around and judge one or the other based on fandomhood, based on dislike, based on, their statuses, based on their attitude, based on their history. I want to base it on facts. I personally think that if this did not happen, I expect Kylie Ray will probably go public and try to calm it down and squash it. She just comes off as that type of person that would not leave it out there, that she would go out there and try to calm things down almost immediately. Let's see what we find out. But, all I say is the right way to go about this is to not judge Jericho because he's AEW, because his wife went to January 6th, because he drunk tweets like a jerk, because, you treat this based on facts. And whatever facts we could get, you best damn believe I will do my hardest to get some information. So, hey, Gary Richards, tally-ho! I like Brian Last and Jim Cornette. For many years, I did not like Jim Cornette. I honestly never realized who Brian Last was up until maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I did not even realize that he was from my neck of the woods, that we went to mutual shows together. I don't even know if I ever shook hands with him before. But, I never, ever heard of him. And then once people saw, oh, he was here. Oh, he was this. I'm like, motherfucker. I had no idea. But many years I was not a Cornette fan. If anybody remembers the Breakfast with Blassie intros, half of that intro was to bash Cornette back in the day. So, all right. Before we go any further, I want to pay respects to 2 people in the wrestling world that passed away in the last couple of days. The first person I want to mention, I know a lot of you out there probably don't know who this person was, but his name is Curtis Chapman. Mad Kurt was his nickname in wrestling. He wrestled in the United Kingdom for Revolution Pro. 26 years old. No cause of death has been revealed as of yet. Very, very beloved. And this is not a case. Listen, I said this not too long ago about someone else who passed away. This is not a case where all the love comes out for the person because they died. And you actually start checking a little bit of the social media and the Facebook pages, and you go back a month. When I see some people who passed away, I go back a month, 2 months, 3 months, if I don't know who they are. And I see what kind of response did they get back, not too long ago. Who was the gentleman? There's someone in the chat will remember. Who's the gentleman from Canada that passed away recently? That really, really jacked up guy. I think his name was Mike. And, he died after wrestling at a charity event. Rage, is that his name? Mike Rage or something? Robbie Rage, that's it. I always say Mike. Maybe I was thinking of Magic Mike. But Robbie Rage, I know a lot of you never heard of that guy, but when he died, the first thing I saw about him was, he roided up. But then I started looking into that guy's profile, and I see nothing but charity work. Good guy. You go back 6 months, and this is not someone who became on their deathbed and just decided to be a good person at the last minute. Everything I see about this Curtis Chapman, I see nothing but good things. 26 years old, passed away way too soon. Way too soon. So rest in peace, Curtis Chapman. My thoughts and my prayers are sincerely with anybody who knew him, his relatives, wrestlers. Rest in peace, Curtis Chapman. Someone else that died. And this man, if anybody checked out the history shows or some of our old school talk, this guy scared the shit out of me when I was a child, first becoming a wrestling fan. Killer Khan, real name Masashi Ozawa, passed away at the age of 76. He died in Japan, I believe yesterday or the day before. He owned a bar in Japan, a bar restaurant, and he was in his restaurant and he collapsed inside the restaurant and he died, 76 years old. Killer Khan was in the news not too long ago. You might remember about 2 or 3 years ago, he almost had a big prison problem because he hit a pedestrian. I don't know if she was on a bicycle or if she was walking by, but I think she was on a bicycle and she flipped up in the air and landed and she broke a tooth and he left the scene. And when the cops found him, he said, I'm sorry. I thought she was okay. I was in a rush to open up my bar. And the woman chose not to press charges. So the charges were dropped. But Killer Khan, I started watching wrestling in 1979. Was a preteen. And in 1980, He showed up in the WWF around that time and had this crazy feud with Andre the Giant. And I went, early on to the Ridgewood Grove Arena. I went to the Garden with my grandmother. And when Killer Khan used to wrestle and used to make those, the best way I could describe it is go step on your dog's tail right now. Especially if you're fat like me. Go step on your dog. Don't really do it, but that yelp, that's what Killer Khan sounded like. And when he would scream and just yell, I fucking got scared shit. First of all, he had this big chunk of hair sticking out of the back of his head. He looked menacing. He was big. I can't believe he was only in his early 30s at the time. But as the years went by, I wasn't afraid anymore. And he came back to the WWF, I think in 1987. And by then, you're now 6-7 years older, and now you're a teenager, and he's yelling and screaming, and you're more like, oh, shut the fuck up. It's Saturday morning. I'm watching WWF Superstars. My TV's low because I'm trying to sleep still. And ah! Yeah! Rest in peace, Killer Khan. Surprised he did not wrestle past 40. As far as I remember doing research back in the day, he only wrestled till about 40 years old and then retired. And you see some pictures of him later in life, smiling, getting along with, other wrestlers. Very likable guy. Very likable guy. You probably would have never thought. I will say this, and we'll move on. I am shocked to shit that he did not become like a big movie star in Hollywood. Maybe because he just went back to Japan and that was it. But you go back to the 70s, Professor Toru Tanaka, you would see him on multiple movies. You would see, a couple other Japanese wrestlers in movies. He was in a movie or two. I'm not saying that he didn't do any films, but you would think, especially in the 80s, with the Love Boat and Fantasy Island and Charlie's Angels and fucking Heart to Heart and all those corny, like crime shows. Which was the one with the football player? Oh God. Oh man, I'm drawing blanks right now. Who was the football player? Hunter. Not Triple H, but Hunter. Oh, we got some Triple H news. That'll be the segue. Hunter. You would have thought he would be like in one of these movies as like a bodyguard or just like in a bar just beating up people. And especially with that yelp. Oh, man. Rest in peace, Killer Khan. Rest in peace. I forgive the person that told me earlier, you should show some respect today and pay tribute to Killer Khan. And I'm like, Minya, I'm one of the few people that pay respects to everybody who dies, even the names that nobody knows. And what was ironic was this person that called me out earlier never mentioned Curtis Chapman. Shame on you. All right, Triple H. Triple H is not known to tease like this on Twitter, but he posted something last night. And this, I believe, came out of a Fightful story that a former WWE champion was going to show up on Raw this Monday for day one. And Triple H went on Twitter last night and wrote, and I quote, "Not going to confirm or deny the rumors of a former WWE champion appearing at Raw day one, but I will say to stay tuned." All right. Triple H normally doesn't do that, but a former WWE champion will be returning to Raw on Monday. People have been asking me since last night, who's it going to be? Who do you think it'll be? Who's it going to be? Well, last night, I went to bed. I got up this morning. I prepared for the show. I haven't talked to anybody yet to get that answer. But who I can tell you is returning very, very soon. Will it happen on Monday? Maybe. Brock Lesnar. And you could have figured this out. The Royal Rumble's coming up, guys. You need Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble. People want to see Brock Lesnar versus Gunther, segue coming, at WrestleMania. Could happen. Be pretty interesting because I think Brock Lesnar would absolutely be happy to do the favors for Gunther. I'm not saying that Brock Lesnar will be the one to show up on Monday, but Brock Lesnar is very close to a return in time, likely for the Royal Rumble. You heard that here. So we will see. We will see if it is Brock Lesnar. Now, we do have some Gunther news. Shotzi Blackheart. We got to give congratulations to Gunther and Shotzi. Not together. They're not an item. But before I do that, I would like to give two other quick super shout-outs. We'll mingle in the chat in a few minutes. I'm not going to, this is not, only dollar signs talks. But Rizzo with a 5 spot. If the wrestling media was legitimate, they would be doing more digging like the Wall Street Journal did during the Vince saga. Also, shame on Houseman, too. Look, I purposely did not mention Nick Houseman's name because I will tell you, I'll say this the best way I can. I do not discuss rumors because one podcaster, one journalist, one person aspiring to be a journalist makes a claim. All right. So that's not a shot on Nick Houseman. The reason why I did not mention Nick Houseman's name is because he wasn't the only one that got this information. He was the one who put something out there. And I think on a podcast, he made a claim comparing Chris Jericho to Harvey Weinstein. Let me say this. I have nothing against Nick Houseman. Little bit much with the CM Punk stuff. I did get a chuckle at Shawn Michaels kind of ribbing him for that. A little bit too obsessive with that stuff. But I don't think people who were abused by Harvey Weinstein would appreciate somebody comparing a absolute monster predator who not only deserved 300 years in jail, but to have his balls cut off and to put that person in the same sentence as Chris Jericho. All right. I don't think Chris Jericho, I don't even think Nick Houseman even understands what Harvey Weinstein has done. All right. And what he has yet to be found guilty of. Harvey Weinstein is a fucking monster. You do not compare Chris Jericho to Harvey Weinstein. That's just my opinion. But he was one to put that out there. We'll see where it goes from here. But to me, comparing Jericho to Harvey Weinstein is the same morons that is now making arguments that Chris Benoit deserves a biopic. Fucking Bizarro Land, man. You want a little Bizarro Land? I'll tell you a little Bizarro Land. We'll get back to questions in a second. Did you see the Goldberg stuff that came out? Goldberg, for some reason, is getting ripped apart by the IWC because he called Vince McMahon a piece of shit. Okay? Goldberg was on a podcast, the Steven and Captain Evil podcast. And Goldberg was being interviewed. He revealed that he wanted to be part of the Sting retirement with AEW, and I guess it didn't work out. Whatever. But he calls Vince McMahon a piece of shit because he reveals that he got COVID and Vince wanted Goldberg to fight Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. And part of the discussions was that Goldberg wants a retirement match and Vince McMahon promised him a retirement match. And it never happened. So Goldberg now is calling Vince a piece of shit. And Goldberg is getting eaten alive on social media over it. Number one, it's kind of funny that people suddenly are like not angry, like they're angry at him for calling Vince a piece of shit. Vince, a piece of shit. Bizarrely, right? But here's the second thing that I think is a little bit unfair to Goldberg. He was asked about this on this podcast. Goldberg was not doing his best impersonation of Ryback and woke up today and said, how do I plug Feed Me More Nutrition? Oh, let me just call Vince a piece of shit. That wasn't what Goldberg was doing. Goldberg was asked questions, and Goldberg answered those questions. And people are ripping him apart because Goldberg is upset that he was promised a retirement match. I got news for you. Last week, we just celebrated the anniversary of 173-1, I believe. The stupid cattle prod incident with Goldberg's match against Kevin Nash. Goldberg, whether you like him or not, whether you think he sucked or not, had a storied wrestling career. And let me tell you something, in the 90s, he was a fucking phenomenon. And he wrestled for the WWE, was not treated all that well, and I think that's WWE creative more than anything else because they didn't create Bill Goldberg. But after the career that he has had, I think he's earned a retirement match. If you don't want to see the retirement match, change the channel. Go take a dump. Make a hot pocket. Walk your dog. Go tweet someone. Just do something else. Go whack off. The guy, it's not, listen, we're not talking about, somebody who barely did anything in wrestling and says that he deserves a retirement match in the WWE. This is one of the biggest stars ever in WCW. Had a average run in the WWE, but he's earned a retirement match. So if Vince promised him and didn't deliver, Vince promised things to Sasha Banks and Naomi and then didn't deliver. And John Laurinaitis says, shut the fuck up, stop complaining, and, get in line. Not necessarily those words, but, you like the person? Wow, Vince is fucked up. You dislike the person? Oh, we don't want to see a retirement match. Fuck you, Goldberg. So I think people are being a little bit unfair to Goldberg. I think Goldberg deserves a retirement match. And I think it'll happen. I think this buzz is to create buzz. I think Goldberg absolutely will have a retirement match in the WWE. I think it'll happen next year. Not this year. Too many other things going on. But I could bet the ranch within a year or two, Goldberg will have a retirement match in the WWE. It's not like Goldberg is going to suddenly turn into Chris Farley with a physique, in a year from now. Goldberg, just has to, get one more in him that he doesn't embarrass himself. Plus, you want to have the right opponent for him. All right. I think we're going to be segue into Mercedes Moné because Sasha Banks and WWE had talks. People are exaggerating a little bit too much about the falling out, but we will talk about it. Want to give a super shout out to Will Chisholm with the 5 spot. DT with the report last night of WWE stopped talking to Mercedes. Do you think it's real or it might be a CM Punk thing? I actually did talk to someone yesterday about the Mercedes Moné WWE situation because that happened earlier in the day. The other stuff with Triple H is surprise. He posted at 10:30 last night. I was already getting my shit ready for bed. Okay. Thank you very much for that, Will. For those that are interested, WWE did in fact meet with Sasha Banks through her agent. Okay. Through her agent. Where is my picture? There's my picture. We had to post a nice photo of Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné. All right. I will tell you what I was told so far. Do not take this as 100% fact. Take it as, you will. But I was told that, pun intended, the Moné is not necessarily the issue here with Mercedes and the WWE. The thing that WWE has a problem with right now with Sasha Banks, with Mercedes, is she wants to have a brand outside of WWE. She's still trademarking names. More Moné, Mercedes Moné, Moné. Soon we're going to get a rendition of that song, Moné, Moné. She wants a brand outside of WWE. And WWE if she returns as Sasha Banks, the outside ventures, the outside projects, that is where they're hitting snags more than anything else. WWE is not going to just overpay for someone simply because they got to have them there. WWE realizes that, okay, if we can't land this person, we'll create our own. Okay, Mercedes is too greedy, no problem. We'll be able to elevate someone else. We got people in NXT. You don't have all 4 horsewomen. You got 3 or 2 for the time being. So right now, the issue with WWE and Mercedes Moné is more of her brand outside of WWE. That is the snag. And understand, too, all this stuff has to be drafted up legally. This is not a CM Punk situation, and I'll tell you why. CM Punk is not, trying to create Punk Wings and Punk Crypto and Punk Energy and Punk this and Punky. He's not trying to create a brand outside of wrestling. He met with WWE. CM Punk likes to do his own shit. He has lawyers. And they're like, okay, contract, talent, done. With Mercedes, there's a whole bunch more legal papers that have to be drafted up. So when you hear that WWE walked away from the table, that's because the Royal Rumble is coming up. That's because WrestleMania is coming up. Elimination Chamber is coming up. If they do not work it out now, they're not going to scramble. It's not like your doorbell rings and family members that live 5,000 miles away just showed up to say hi and they're going to stay the weekend and you're scrambling trying to clean up your place in 5 minutes. With Mercedes Moné, if they can't work out a deal now, they can't do the Royal Rumble with her. They can't do Elimination Chamber with her. They have to start going in, and Charlotte Flair being injured fucked things up even more because Jade Cargill, if Jade Cargill was supposed to face Charlotte and that's not happening, a whole bunch of dominoes fall down. Now you got to figure out a new opponent for Jade. Oh, okay, we'll put her against Rhea Ripley. Oh, well, how are you going to do that? Rhea Ripley was supposed to do this. Oh, okay, we could do this. And then what about this person and then this person and this person? Oh, well, maybe we could do this. You have to act now. This is not, okay, signed, we'll keep her in a box so nobody could see her and just have her come out on WrestleMania night. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of legalese involved. So when you hear people online saying that WWE walked away, what do you think? This is Romper Room? You think that the contract is on 2 pieces of paper? There are lots of legal shit that has to be drafted up. And when Mercedes, through her agent, meets with WWE and the agent says she wants this, she wants to keep this, she wants to be able to do this, she wants to be able to have this, she wants this. And WWE is like, huh? What? Are you kidding me? We want it for the Rumble. So I'm simplifying it, but that's what's going on. So are they on no speaking terms? No, that's not the case. But it's so complicated. Mercedes Moné and WrestleMania might be out the door. Mercedes Moné may end up being the Impact Wrestling surprise. And if that happens, I know what you're going to say because I would say it on Reaction as well. How does Impact afford her, but WWE can't? That would be your first reaction, right? If Impact Wrestling brought her in, reunited her with Naomi, and they feud for the Knockouts Championship, how could Impact afford her and WWE couldn't ink a deal? This is why. It would not surprise me if Mercedes Moné pops up in Impact, pops up in AEW. Maybe she does work out a deal with WWE. Any of this is possible. But I will tell you this. You got a lot of Texas sharpshooters that suddenly think they have scoops about Mercedes Moné. Suddenly, they ran on the high mountain. This is how funny it is. 4 weeks ago, they saw Charlotte's injury. They saw Bailey re-signed, and all of this positive, beautiful stuff happening with the WWE women, and everybody's happy, and Triple H is doing great. And they're like, fuck, we can't use the Mercedes to AEW anymore because now it's obvious she's coming back. And then Mercedes did that podcast. She did that podcast. I don't know who they were. They were, I think, overseas. And the guy had the women's tag team championship, and she picked it up and she held it. She's like, oh, I missed you so much, like joking around. But she wasn't angry about WWE. She was embracing it. So people like, fuck. Now we got to say that the talks with AEW fell apart. Now, 3 weeks later, they're like, fuck. Man, the WWE talks fell apart. Fuck. She might show up at World's End. These people don't know nothing. At least I tell you honestly, I don't know where she goes next. I don't. But I do know that what's going on with WWE right now is extremely complicated because of the additional fringe benefits that Mercedes wants if she returns to WWE. WWE is not prepared for that right now. So the idea that WWE just, the people are making it sound like WWE said, oh, fuck you, you greedy bitch, and walked out. That's not the case at all. It's not the case at all. That is what I know about Mercedes Moné at the moment. Want to give congratulations to Shotzi. Shotzi got married, I think yesterday, the day before. WWE was in Las Vegas, I guess, and she's like, you know what? We're going to be in Las Vegas. Let's elope. Let's get married. And not for nothing, like I'm looking at the back of their backs, and I'm like, did she marry Bret Hart? Did he die? He looks like Bret Hart from the background. Maybe Bret Hart with like fucked up shoulders now. I don't know who she married, but hey, that's cute, man. Shotzi got eloped. They got married, and she is officially off the market. Someone else we need to congratulate. Gunther. 2 weeks ago, he tells Imperium, I'm going to leave for a few weeks. When I come back, I want to make sure you guys better make sure you have everything in place here. And we wondered, why? Was he taking time off? Well, holidays, of course, but there was something else. A little ring general is born. Congratulations to Gunther and Ginny. They gave birth to a little healthy baby boy. And so Gunther is now a dad, and that is a picture. They posted that, so listen, I'm not like revealing personal shit. Anything I ever post on these shows is stuff that they make public. I don't want anybody ever to think that I'm posting shit up just to post stuff up. But Gunther and Ginny had a baby boy. So congrats go to Gunther. By the way, if Brock Lesnar does show up on Raw Monday, I think he'll just enter in the Royal Rumble. I don't see him challenging Gunther as of yet. I think he could. Listen, again, we don't know if it's going to be Brock Lesnar on Monday. Former WWE champion, could be anybody. If you actually think about it, could be anybody. But I think Brock enters the Rumble, goes at it with Gunther once again. Maybe this time around, Gunther eliminates him. Some shit goes down, and that leads to WrestleMania. So, by the way, I got 2 video clips. I'm a little parched. I want to take a sip of something, but I got 2 video clips that I want to show you from the Madison Square Garden event that happened this week. One of them involves CM Punk. It's something very interesting. Something we talked about a few weeks ago happened again. And I'm going to point it out. And I know WWE Day 1 is in 2 days, but makes you think even more that, could we be on to something that Drew McIntyre wins the World Heavyweight Championship? Seth Rollins also paid a little tribute that I'm going to share with you. But before we do that, I want to show you something else before we show the video clips. I thought this was a joke. I honestly thought it was a joke. Now, I'm not going to be one of those that rips the Ric Flair actor in the Iron Claw. I know wrestling fans just revealed they had to complain about something, so they complained about this. Where were they when Young Rock came out with all the bullshit? We see documentaries, and this really wasn't even a documentary, so to speak. But, all right, they use this guy as Ric Flair. Big fucking deal. What I found interesting, and I posted this on Patreon Tuesday, and I'm going to share it here as well. Anybody notice that the Ric Flair that was in the Iron Claw looks exactly like the Ric Flair that is on the energy drink, Woo Energy? It looks like the same goddamn person, right down to the fucking shirt and the collar, everything, the sunglasses, the side profile. But that's not what I'm saying I thought was a joke. All I'm saying is if you thought that was bad, I think I got one better for you. Arn Anderson is coming out with a book, a documentary. Now, when I first saw this, I could swear a year or two ago, Arn Anderson was coming out with a comic book. Somebody told me a year or so ago that, hey, did you hear Arn Anderson was coming out with a comic book? I was like, how? I was like, if you really want to interest me, I want Arn Anderson to do the artwork, and I want him to draw with his left hand. Just think Michael J. Fox. You know what I'm talking about. Old school DT. But, this was not the comic book. He's coming out with an autobiography. I looked at the book cover because it pre-sale for Amazon came out last week. And Arn Anderson plugged it. He's like, everybody, my book is coming out the end of February. Pre-order it now. So it's on Amazon. It's like $25. And I looked at the cover art. And I got it here. If I'm on Amazon and I'm like looking at books or videos and I see a familiar face, I'm going to stop and be like, oh shit, I didn't know that person had a book. Or I didn't know that they had a documentary coming out. Oh, maybe I'll go watch it. I thought this was a joke. I thought maybe this was a Make-A-Wish grant. Arn Anderson's book cover art is this. What the fuck am I looking at here? If you're an Arn Anderson fan, we got to zoom in on this. First of all, I don't recall Arn Anderson ever having abs and looking like one half of the new Midnight Express. This is his cover art. What the fuck is that? It's a cartoon. It doesn't even look like him. Maybe this is what he always dreamed to look like. But if you're looking online and you see this book, would you ever think this is Arn Anderson? I mean, who drew this? I mean, look, I'm not disrespecting Jim Cornette's artist because they put 9,500 clips during the week. They have to draw cover art for every clip that posts on YouTube. I'm going to have that problem because Kevin and I are going to post some clips on YouTube. We're going to do it just like everybody else does. That's why I'm only doing 2 shows a week going forward. But, this looks worse than that art. What is this? What am I looking at? This looks like something like on Adult Swim. That is legit cover art for Arn Anderson's book. That is no joke. This is the book. That's the book. Arn Anderson, My Life as an Enforcer. No. Please change that cover art. I don't care if the person you did the book with, he's like, I'll write the book for free, but you use my cover art. That's just awful. That's awful. It doesn't even look like Arn Anderson. All right. Let's share the 2 clips. Let's first share Seth Rollins. It's only a minute or 2, but last week was the anniversary of the passing of BRODIE Lee, who you knew in the WWE as Luke Harper. Seth Rollins not only paid tribute to BRODIE, but also paid tribute to Bray Wyatt. Here's a little clip of what Seth Rollins had to say. only about a minute and a half, but I thought it was really nice. I think you would appreciate it. Pretty cool clip.
We are packed from the front row to the nosebleeds in the most famous arena in the world. Thank you, Madison Square Garden. There's just one more thing I gotta do tonight. Today is the 26th of December. A few years back, my good friend, our good friend BRODIE Lee passed away. I miss him and just a few months ago, we lost Wyndham Rotunda as well. But earlier tonight, when the lights were down, that's right, I saw some fireflies out there in the garden. Yeah, man. So look, here's the deal. They're kicking me out of here. We got a curfew, but I'm not leaving this building until you guys light this place up with those fireflies and you sing my damn song so loud, BRODIE and Wyndham can hear you, baby. Let's go, New York. 3, 2, 1.
I'm getting dizzy. Beautiful. Thought that was really, really nice. Still blows my mind that Bray Wyatt is no longer here. Yesterday, the absolute best of WWE continued on SmackDown. They paid a really nice tribute to Bray Wyatt, Corey Graves, emceeing that. The only matches that were on yesterday for SmackDown was the Crown Jewel match. Actually, Crown Jewel got twice, 2/3 the love yesterday. John Cena versus Solo Sikoa. They showed that match from Crown Jewel. They showed the United States Championship match with Logan Paul defeating Rey Mysterio. And then obviously we were going to see a little bit of WrestleMania 39 with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. I expect that rating to be probably a little bit better than Raw's rating, but not by much. I was surprised how low Raw's rating was because even though it was a repeat, we had a pretty damn good 2023. And a lot of what we saw, I thought was worth seeing again. But, when we get to the weekend ratings, you'll see Raw's number was awful. Technically, if you really want to play semantics here, Dynamite beat Raw this week in the ratings. So, all right, the second video I want to show you is from CM Punk. Now, I want you to listen closely. I'm going to show you the final minute of his match against Dominic Mysterio, and I want you to listen close about what he says with the Royal Rumble, well, actually WrestleMania in particular. I want you to pay close attention of what he says about Mania and more importantly, what he does not say. And then we'll refresh what we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which is why even more, I think Drew McIntyre may in fact win the World Heavyweight Championship Monday at day one. Here is CM Punk. Oop, here we go.
It's okay, Rhea! It's okay, Rhea!
Oh, shut up. Nice. Connected nice. All right, here's what he had to say.
Yeet. That was from my boy Uso back there. This was for all of you. I'll be honest, there's a little part of me that came here for me. But you guys are the high tide that raises all ships. You have carried me throughout my career to my greatest moments, and this is one of them. So I want you to look to your left, and I want you to look to your right. I want you to look at the people behind you. I want you to say hello to your neighbors. I want you to shake hands. We are all in this together. When I wake up in the morning, when somebody asks me how my day is, I say, hey, I woke up this morning. Everything else after that, I'm fortunate for. Every day I'm in this ring in front of all of you, I am fortunate for. I came back here to finish what I started. It starts tonight in the world's most famous arena in front of you, the greatest fans on earth. And I know I got stiff competition, but I'm here to finish what I started. And when I win the Royal Rumble and go on to main event WrestleMania, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to let you know that that isn't me finishing my story. That's just me getting started.
Okay. What did he not say? Something that we picked up on a couple of weeks ago in his confrontation with Seth Rollins. We noticed it then. You should take even more notice of it now. And if you think that I'm wrong, go back and rewatch the confrontation with him and Seth Rollins on Raw. CM Punk keeps bringing up winning the Royal Rumble, main eventing WrestleMania. You have never, in that clip or in his confrontation with Seth Rollins, you never heard him say taking that World Heavyweight Championship. Go back and watch the clip again. We brought it up a few weeks ago, and I believe Drew McIntyre needs to win the World Heavyweight Championship on Monday. We'll get into some predictions in a moment, but take note that every time CM Punk is cutting a promo at a live show now, he talks about main eventing WrestleMania, never mentions for a World Heavyweight Championship. That's something to keep in the back of your head, and I think the reason why they're doing that is because if Drew McIntyre wins that World Heavyweight Championship on Monday, CM Punk still wants to main event WrestleMania, just there will not be a title on the line. And plus, I don't think CM Punk is going to win the Royal Rumble. I think the last 5 people in the Royal Rumble will probably be Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso, and whoever else you want to put in there, Sami Zayn. I still got this feeling that someone like Sami Zayn could pull it out because no one is talking about it. I think you could very well see Sami Zayn win the Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre wins the World Championship on Monday, and then you got Sami Zayn co-main eventing night 1 against Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship, and the other main event would be Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. No championship on the line. Remember what I said about all those podcasters out there that are irate at the idea that Seth versus Punk would not be for a championship. And they're giving you 1,001 reasons why it needs to be for a title. Not because it makes sense, but because they want it to be for the title. We will know about 48 hours from now, right? By the way, I should have said this right at the beginning of tonight. Tomorrow night, we will be live here, New Year's Eve, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern. We are going to say adios to 2023 and hello to 2024. I will be live tomorrow for about 2.5 hours, and it will be sit-down format. We'll just be sitting, chatting, wrestling. We don't have to worry about video simulcasts. We don't need any dead air. But tomorrow, if you're home and you'd like to spend it with me and a few others, 10 p.m., I will be live tomorrow night. Happy New Year. And then Monday, obviously, we got the post-show review. You know, right now, things are still normal for me for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, as we prepare for the January 29th return of the DTKC show on Mondays. So for the next week or two, we're going to be pretty much normal schedule as before. So you'll still get me on Monday. I'll probably be doing Mondays online until the 29th, and then we'll switch over to Discord. But like I said, when I put the links up, you'll have weeks to sign up. It's literally just clicking a link and joining. And then for all my channel members here, you get automatic access to the channel. So I have somebody working on a little behind the scenes stuff on my Discord channel. We already have a Discord set up. We use it for Patreon every week. That same Discord is what we're going to use for Mondays. But I have this person setting it up that if you're a channel member here, you automatically get access to that Discord as well. So like I said, we need a couple of weeks to set everything up. That's why we're not kicking it off January 1st. Believe me, Kevin and I talked about starting January 1st, but we would be really, really rushing it. And I think it would be a hot mess. So our first official Monday will be the night, the Monday after the Royal Rumble, but we will do a Royal Rumble prediction show week before. So speaking of predictions, let's just do this very, very quickly. There's no need to really go crazy with this, but we have AEW World's End. Why do I have Toni Storm versus Rio as the first match? That should not be, because we actually got a 0 hour coming up tonight, and the 3 matches for the 0 hour is Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale. We also have Hook defending the FTW championship against Wheeler Yuta, I believe. And then we have a battle royale. So that is going to be in the 0 hour. And the battle royale is going to get interesting. But let's just quickly give you match predictions, because some of you do gamble and some of you are curious to know my outcomes. This is going to be super fast. But Toni Storm absolutely is going to retain her women's championship against Riho. This is a match put together, spur of the moment, same template like AEW does with a lot of their women's division. And, you know, Riho, listen, back in the day when I was doing the shows with Mish, we would debate about Riho a lot. And I used to stick up for her. I just don't care about her anymore. She just doesn't interest me. To see her dive onto Toni Storm and the other Matarats, not Eugene Wilbur. What the fuck's that guy's name again? I'm drawing a blank. And the other, like, come on, man. It's 105 pounds. Like, if it was any other match, you would catch her in the air and then just drop her like a sack of potatoes. Luther, I think his name is. Yeah. It's just like, it's just hard to watch, man. But I'm going with Toni Storm to retain. We have, there we go. FTW title on the line. Everybody's got a belt, including Wheeler, the not so great Wheeler Yuta. Hook will retain his FTW championship. No question there. The Battle Royale. The winner gets a title shot for the TNT championship anytime, anywhere. Who do I think will win, even though we have not yet learned the participants? I think it's going to be somebody from this list. I think it could be Dolph Ziggler. It could be Mustafa Ali. It certainly ain't going to be Shanky or Rick Boogs, but somebody from this list I think is going to show up at this Battle Royale from the list of endeavored wrestlers from September. And I think it's going to be someone that is not currently on the roster will win the Battle Royale. Unless they want to try to do something cheesy and have Nick Wayne or Luchasaurus or whatever his fucking name is now, Kill Switch, I think they're calling him now, unless they try to do something like that. Because remember, Christian is the TNT champion. Then again, we might see a title change tonight. I'm not so sure about that. We'll continue predictions. So I'm going with somebody from that endeavored list to win the Battle Royale. Other matches, there we go. Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander. I'm going with Chris Statlander. Now she doesn't have a title and she's had a couple of losses under her belt. I think it's time for her to get a win. So she'll probably grab the win over here. After the match, we'll probably get a clusterfuck and both of them will probably team up with each other and battle off the evil foes that interfere afterwards. Look at that. We called this shit a mile away. We brought up last week the awful smoke and mirrors that they have done to the Dima. And what do we say? They'll give him a last-minute match at World's End that's really going to be meaningless. The Dima. You know what that look is on his face right now, Miro? And I've always complimented him. He's one of the smartest men in wrestling. Miro, when he posed for that picture, whoever the photographer was Miro, give me that look on your face every time you cash that 5-digit check and you don't have to fucking do nothing for work. And everybody online is like, he's fucking laughing. That's the look on his face when you cash $10,000, $20,000 checks and you didn't have to do nothing for the week to earn it. That is a look of, ha, ha, ha. I got a hot wife. I got 5-digit checks, which add up to 6 and 7 digits when everything is said and done. But Andrade is going to get the win over here. Andrade seems to be getting more of a push. The Dima. All right, moving on. 8-man tag. We have the assaulter, alleged assaulter, Chris Jericho. 8-man tag. Sting and Darby Allin. Oh, well, there you go. Sting has never lost a match in AEW. You think Sting is going to lose tonight? Ha! Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Sting and Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks, Big Bill, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Takeshita, who is filling in for Kyle Fletcher. No matter what, Team Assault will win. Jericho, Guevara, Darby Allin, and Sting. No question. All right, and another match put together. Daniel Garcia, Mark Briscoe, Claudio Castagnoli, and Bryan Danielson versus Brody King, Jay White, Jay Lethal, and Roosh. Yeah, they're going to give a little bit of a consolation prize to Daniel Garcia. People predicting Daniel Garcia to win the Continental Classic. Please, I give the guy a win. I mean, what I hope we don't get tonight is that stupid fucking dance that I don't want to see Mark Briscoe, Bryan Danielson, and Claudio Castagnoli doing the dance that Daniel Garcia does. Daniel Garcia wants to act like a scrawny Chippendales dancer. That's fine with me. I have no problem with it. I'm a fan of Daniel Garcia. They will win this match. I think you have to give a win to Daniel Garcia after that Continental Classic. Just no dancing, please. All right. Julia Hart defending the TBS championship against Abaddon. I am very happy how they've used Abaddon in recent weeks. You know, it's nice to see beyond Halloween that they have kept her on TV, but there's no question in my mind you're not going to ruin the momentum that Julia Hart has right now. A lot of it is visual, obviously, but it's put together and the crowd is into it. She's doing a good job. You do not change that. As much as I'm a fan of Abaddon, you will go home tonight without a championship. Julia Hart will retain. Next, we got, Swerve Strickland versus Keith Lee. You know, this is so interesting because this is not long-term booking. This is, let's just give him the match finally. What's interesting about this is people are saying that it's two baby faces. And my love for Swerve. Keith Lee used to be my favorite wrestler of NXT. So I have love for both guys. But I think coming out of this, I think Keith Lee is going to be the one getting the most heel heat. I think the crowd is going to be into Swerve. They're already into Nana. I'm going to go with Swerve to beat Keith Lee. And I think Keith Lee may go full-blown heel after this. So, and then this feud will finally end. Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley in the Continental Classic final. My friends, they're in New York tonight. They're in Long Island, New York tonight. You need a little bit of hometown love. And even though I never in a million years would have ever thought that AEW would have Eddie Kingston win, I think that there is a very strong possibility that Eddie Kingston wins this because they're in New York more than anything else. I could just imagine that crazy, crazy pop. Then I could see a sign of respect from Moxley and Kingston after the match is over. Maybe Kingston will get jumped after his win, but I'm going with Eddie Kingston to win. And I think New York will fucking go bonkers for him to win tonight. So I'm going with Eddie Kingston to win. So that leaves us Christian Cage defending the TNT Championship against Adam Copeland. The minute they made it no DQ, I kind of soured on this because you know it's going to be coming. Nick Wayne, Mrs. Wayne trying to be Lori Fullington. This is going to be a clusterfuck on steroids. I mean, it's amazing how much I wanted to see these two guys fight in AEW, and now I don't want to see them fight at all. I don't even know if I even want them to team up at this point. This will be spectacular. Look, they're best friends. They are going to tear it up tonight. When you work with your friend, you have the most fun working with your friend, let alone your best friend. These two guys will not disappoint tonight. I wish I would have felt a little bit more into it, but you know what's coming. I think, because remember the Battle Royale. The winner of the Battle Royale takes on the TNT champion anytime, any place, wherever they want. I'm going to go with Adam Copeland to win the belt tonight, despite the dumb antics by Nick Wayne and his mom and anybody else they want to put out there. And then who knows? Maybe Killswitch or Nick Wayne ends up winning the Battle Royale and ends up facing Copeland for the championship. But maybe Christian insists that Nick Wayne give him his opportunity and Christian gets a rematch. Some dumb shit like that. So I'm going to go with Adam Copeland just because we need more than one title change tonight, right, guys? And you're going to be saying to me right now, wait a minute, DT, you said more than one title change. What other title change are you talking about? MJF needs surgery. MJF needs to be taken out on a stretcher. MJF in front of Long Island, his hometown. He lived 5-10 minutes away from there. I know that area very, very well. My aunt lives about 7 blocks away from MJF's parents, that house. The Devil's going to show up tonight. We have had those discussions in the past. I still would find it spectacular if the Devil is revealed to be Shad Khan's son. If you don't know why I said it that way, go on Twitter and look up Shad Khan's, Jacksonville Jaguars owner Shad Khan's son. I kind of felt bad for Tony Khan yesterday. And if Tony Khan is revealed as the Devil tonight, the clip yesterday from some college football game is going to be the death of the devil storyline if Tony Khan is revealed to be the devil. And the reason why I say that is because some Clemson or somebody won an important college game yesterday. And because WWE's always given titles out to NFL teams, Tony Khan showed up to give, I guess, the coach of the team an AEW belt. It reminded me of when, who was the TNA champion? Who was the TNA champion that I said did the press conference that time and nobody was there, and he was like, I fought and I battled all these injuries, but I'm finally back and I won the championship, and there was no reaction from the media. Who was the person? Somebody in the chat room's got to know. Was one half of the champion. I can't remember his name right now. He's still in Impact. Chris Sabin. So, thank you very much, First Pro. Any of you out there never saw the Chris Sabin promo when he won the TNA World Championship years back? You got to watch that promo. Tony Khan presenting that belt yesterday looked exactly like the Chris Sabin moment. There was like no media other than a couple of people. Tony Khan gave him the belt, and Tony's like looking at this camera, like looking for accolades. And the person who posted the video, not a WWE fan, not a wrestling fan, but how they titled it was Jacksonville Jaguars owner Shad Khan's son presents Clemson coach with a title belt. No mention of Tony Khan's name. They addressed him as Shad Khan's son. He's not 12 years old. He's a fucking 40-year-old, billionaire. And they addressed him as Shad Khan's son. I really felt bad for Tony yesterday. That was a dagger in the heart. That was a dagger. If this motherfucker gets revealed to be the devil, that clip will follow him everywhere. But I think MJF loses tonight. I went with the original Ring of Honor storyline, and I take pride that I was the first person to come up with it. That Ring of Honor has a whole group of people trying to take over, and everybody in that group are people that hate MJF. From, Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Samoa Joe, Big Bill. I think Britt Baker is going to be revealed under a mask. I think the story could be that MJF teasing that he would leave, that he never cared about AEW. All he cared about was the bidding war of 2024. And Tony Khan or people were hired to take MJF out, to get him out of AEW. If it's not Tony Khan involved with this, then you could have Adam Cole leading the faction. That Adam Cole led a faction to get MJF destroyed so he never returns to AEW ever again. And this way, when MJF does return, I signed a new deal to stay. I ain't going anywhere. And that takes his babyface character to another level. So I'm not saying that it's Tony Khan, so to speak, but this is a group, the whole storyline is to destroy MJF. Would not be surprised if you see NWO garbage in that ring tonight. Would not be surprised if you remember when The Undertaker was in the casket match? Was it against Yokozuna? And he got destroyed by Bam Bam and Samu, and everybody did their finisher on Undertaker, and he got put in the casket. And then when they walked to the back, the spirit raised up in the air, and it was one of the most dumbest things, I think, in the history of wrestling. I'm not saying we're going to see the spirit of MJF tonight, but I think you're going to see people taking their turns, hitting their finishers on MJF, leaving him laying in a stretcher, blood, and you're going to see fans, because it's Long Island, New York, pelting this ring with crazy amounts of garbage. I think that's what we're going to get tonight. I'm going with Samoa Joe to win the championship. Very surprised to have Samoa Joe be the one. But if the storyline goes down the way that I perceive it to be, it's not as bad as it sounds. So, Film scene investigation. DT, you keep talking about this Patreon show stuff. Good luck, but no way will I ever pay. There are tons of podcasts better and free. By all means, man, I've been doing this since 1997. And our Patreon family, along with a lot of people here, were the reasons why we stuck around. And I'm not going to burn myself out till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, certain days during the week, because just to be somebody's second and third choice. If you don't, by the way, there's going to be free versions anyway. DonTony.com, Apple, Spotify, it's going to be available everywhere. There'll be some ads in there, but I'm not saying that you have to pay to access our shows. There's going to be free versions everywhere. But for YouTube, we don't want thousands of stats being lost on YouTube. That's the reason why it's for channel members. If you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you. But all right. So MJF loses the belt tonight. NXT New Year's Evil, they only announced 5 matches, but there's only 2 hours. So, and it's regular TV, so don't expect much to come out of this. I think storylines more than anything else. So the 5 matches for New Year's Evil that are going to be taking place this Tuesday is Ilya Dragunov defending the NXT Championship against Trick Williams. Ridge Holland is going to be interviewed that night. So Ridge Holland is going to be involved in this in some capacity. Now, the big question is, what's going to happen with Carmelo Hayes? Did I just figure something out? Did Carmelo Hayes hire Ridge Holland to take out Trick Williams and take out Ilya? Did I just fall? I'm just trying to think outside the box. Lexis King said that it wasn't him that took out Trick. What if it was Ridge Holland that took out Trick? What if Carmelo Hayes hired Ridge Holland to take out Trick and to take out Ilya? Maybe. Let's see. If it happens Tuesday, this will be replayed next week. I'm gonna go with Ilya to retain. I can't see Trick Williams as the heavyweight champion yet. And if Ridge Holland was hired or he's there to try to take these guys out, I can see Ridge Holland becoming champion before I see Trick Williams. So, no. Listen, JS, I appreciate what you're writing about Big E. We said it for the last 2 weeks that Ridge Holland taking out Ilya might be a little sign that Big E might be on the way back. The reason why you're writing that is because I saw a bunch of people writing this week on the podcast world like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if Big E is the world heavyweight champion to make the surprise on Raw? That could very well be. But, if it happens, it happens. But, yeah, I just, right now we're talking NXT. And I think Ridge Holland, taking out Ilya accidentally, so to speak, I think he's going to be involved in this mix. I'm going to go with Ilya to retain. I just don't think it's Trick Williams' moment yet to become champion, especially if we find out that Carmelo Hayes and Ridge Holland have some type of relationship. We could see Ilya and Trick versus Carmelo Hayes and Ridge Holland down the line. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but got to try to think a little bit outside the box with this. Another match going down is Lyra Valkyria defending the NXT Women's Championship against Blair Davenport. I think Blair Davenport is ready for that main roster. Lyra is, so to speak, but I think Lyra needs a little bit more of a personality. Lyra's going to retain this title. There is absolutely no reason to take the belt off of her this soon. She just got the rub, sort of the NXT torch passed her by Becky Lynch. Lyra will retain the championship. Another match going down. Roxanne Perez against Ariana Grace, the daughter of Santino Marella. Ariana Grace is starting to put it together. She was out with the injury, which kept her out for an extended period of time. Ariana's good, but she's nowhere there yet. Roxanne Perez will get this. Ariana will put on a little bit of a fight. We might get a commercial break out of this, but Roxanne Perez is going to win this one. And another Oh, wait, the other women's match we didn't get into yet. Okay, this one, Dragon Lee. Oh, Cruz del Toro, Joaquin Wilde. Let's bring him back to NXT as we expect. They're going to take on Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey, and I'm assuming it's going to be, did they announce which person it's going to be? I'd probably Damon Kemp. You got to go with Dragon Lee, Joaquin Wilde, and Cruz del Toro. I mean, it's a shame, LWO is pretty much disbanded now, although Santos might reform his own. I just don't want LWO red, white, and green, and LWO black and red, or purple and burgundy. I just don't give me no NWO type shit. We don't want LWO versus LWO. So Dragon Lee, Del Toro, and Wilde will win. And this one, Fallon Henley versus Tiffany Stratton. I think a lot of people do not know the stipulation in this match. The stipulation gives away the winner. The loser is either going to be a ranch hand or a servant for a day. So you think ranch hand, that's because Fallon Henley, she's a hick, she's a Southern belle, she's from the South, she got horses, cattle, and lots of manure. She got a lot of hay, a lot of sweat, a lot of cowboys that smell like horse manure. So are you going to see Tiffany Stratton with a prissy little body and a cute little nails and all her makeup trying to scoop horse shit? Or are we going to have Fallon Henley? It'd be funny if Tiffany Stratton calls for Fallon Henley, bring me my beverage. And she goes like this and the lights go off. If anybody knows why I said that, you're old, just like me. Clap on, clap off, the clapper. Which would be funnier? Tiffany Stratton working on the farm or Fallon Henley acting like a servant? Me, I want to see Tiffany Stratton on a farm. I want to see her fall into a pile of mud, which they will pretend is horse manure. And she just gets up and she's just covered in shit. And she'll just yell out kind of like a female Killer Khan. She'll be like, ah, ah. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with Fallon Henley to beat Tiffany Stratton. So hopefully the NXT New Year's Evil, the way we plugged it, might make it a little worthwhile to check it out. Monday for WWE Day 1. They only have 4 matches announced as of right now. Becky Lynch versus Nia Jax. I would not be surprised if Becky Lynch gets some type of a count-out victory. Maybe Nia Jax is getting her ass kicked and she just bails, gets out of there. I think Becky Lynch is going to win, but I think maybe Nia Jax may take the chicken shit way out, and that leads to another match in the future. Another match going down on Monday. Okay, Tegan Nox and Natalya versus Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. I'm going with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. Natalya and Tegan Nox had their shot recently for number 1 contendership. They lost. I think Shayna and Zoe will be next in line to feud with Chance and Carter. And remember what we said on last week's show, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn attacking the Kabuki Warriors was a diversion so people would not say, give me the Kabuki Warriors versus Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Not just yet. Not just yet. Okay. We have Rhea Ripley taking on Ivy Nile. Rhea will be defending and successfully defending the WWE Women's World Championship. Ivy Nile will get to showcase what she can do. I felt bad for Maxine Dupree, what happened to her 2 weeks ago. She shouldn't have been in the ring with Rhea Ripley. It was a little bit of a hot mess. Ivy Nile is getting a lot of pressure, but she is really, one of my absolute favorites coming out of NXT. Easily one of my favorites coming out of NXT. She came in there like American Gladiator shit. She had no wrestling background, and she's put so much work in there. you see her and you see Lola Vice and you see what Tiffany Stratton has done. There is some really, really, like 2 years ago, none of these women are on the map, even in wrestling. Pretty much non-existent. And you see 2 years later where they're going. Pretty cool to see. But Rhea Ripley will defeat her. She's so small, though, Ivy Nile. Is Rhea Ripley going to be able to pin her like she pins everyone else? I mean, she ain't like a midget. But Ivy Nile's kind of small. So that leaves us Seth Rollins defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre. I have stuck with it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not reporting it as news. I just look at the way Drew McIntyre has been used for a year and a half. Clash at the Castle was spectacular. The storyline was immense. In hindsight, I totally get why Roman Reigns retained. But then you had Drew McIntyre face Seth Rollins not too long ago, and he lost again. Now you have Drew with a change of attitude. And after that promo he cut 2 weeks ago, when you're telling people that you sacrificed everything, and you had family members tell you, keep doing it, and then they die, was it worth it? How do you fucking lose this after that? That's powerful shit, man. That family members tell you, keep sacrificing, and they die before you could regain that mountaintop. I mean, he's a heel, but that promo hit me, and I'm like, the motherfucker's got to win. I think Drew McIntyre is your next World Heavyweight Champion. I hope it happens. Seth Rollins, arguably the MVP of Raw for 2023. But Monday will be 2024. And I think Seth Rollins' spectacular 2023 ends with the World Heavyweight Championship. But January 1, 2024, Seth Rollins begins the year losing the championship on the same even playing field as CM Punk, going with Drew McIntyre to win this championship. And then it gets interesting because CM Punk wants Rollins so bad, but CM Punk is not winning the Royal Rumble. So we don't have to worry about that, guys. There are people out there that are convincing you that it's going to be either CM Punk or Cody Rhodes, or they'll tell you that CM Punk will win the Rumble and Cody will win the Chamber. No. I think it's the Rumble is either Cody or Sami Zayn. That's how I feel right now. If Drew fails on Monday, then my Royal Rumble choice may change. But as of right now, I've stuck with it. I stand by it. Let's see what happens. I'm going with Drew McIntyre to become your next World Heavyweight Champion. One little quick news tidbit for those that are interested. Shawn Spears is no longer part of AEW. No controversy here. I will admit, if you follow social media closely, it was cute. I mean, you felt bad for Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears goes on Twitter and explains why he's gone from AEW. Now, Cliff Notes version of it, he and his wife, Cassie, remember from the Iconics, they gave birth to their first child, I think in January, beginning of the year. They're expecting their second child next year. Shawn Spears wants to focus more on home, building his family, spending more time at home. That's why Shawn Spears is out of AEW right now. Possible return, but that is why he's out. On social media, he wrote this, and it's cute because I'll explain why in a minute. He writes, this is quick. He writes, what a wonderful time it's been. Thank you, AEW, for allowing me to be there from the ground level. It's been a fantastic 5 years of growth and personal development. This is a personal choice and one that is best for me and my family at this time. Thank you to all the staff and talent alike. Thank you for the memories with a red heart and number 10. Most importantly, well, I'm jumping the gun. That's what he wrote. He thanked the talent. He said, a few minutes later, a couple of fans were like, what about us? So Shawn Spears writes a second tweet a little bit later. Most importantly, the incredible fans of all professional wrestling. I love you guys. I really do. It was basically, shit, I forgot to include you in my tweet. So he had to write the follow-up tweet. I want to say this about Sean Spears. I don't know if anybody could verify this for me. I mean, I don't think Tully Blanchard tunes into our shows. I will say this. I am blown away by the response that I got, DMs, emails, publicly from everyone out there about Kevin and I returning to full-time shows. There are a lot of people in wrestling that don't reveal their hand. There's not many people that will publicly say, I support this person, I support this person, I support this person, because not everybody is liked. And people don't want to get dragged down simply because you support someone. But I will tell you, and if you don't want to believe me, go ask Kev. I cannot believe how many people within wrestling still tune in to the stuff that we do. It's mind-blowing. It's humbling. And I find myself repeatedly writing to these people saying, no, I should be thanking you. And one particular wrestler wrote something that I totally forgot about. It was a cheesy catchphrase that Kevin and I had about 15 years ago. 15 years ago, we had a catchphrase was, we don't talk about wrestling. No, we don't talk about the wrestlers. We talk to the wrestlers, which, I mean, looking back on it, that is cheesy as fuck. Somehow this motherfucker remembered. He's like, I go back to the days when you didn't just talk to the wrestlers, you talked at the wrestler. It's just wild, man. But I'll say this has to do with Sean Spears. Recently, not Tully Blanchard, Dutch Mantel, he's got his podcast. I watch it occasionally as well. Dutch Mantel made a claim that he talked to Tully Blanchard, and Tully Blanchard told him that during his entire stay in AEW, not one person came to him for advice. Not one person. And Dutch Mantel said this on his podcast. And I was thinking about it this weekend when I heard about Sean Spears leaving AEW. I have been told multiple times that Sean Spears is one of the guys in AEW that would go up to all the legends, including Tully Blanchard, and always pick their brain for their thoughts, advice, suggestions. So I'm curious if anybody out there talks to Tully Blanchard, because he is, very accessible online. I mean, I'm not going to do it, but I could swear that Sean Spears is one of those guys that actually did reach out to a lot of the legends. So, I mean, he hasn't had a blockbuster AEW career, but, I show a little respect his way, but he's gone from AEW. So with that said, I think all we have left is the weekend ratings. Let's get into them. Now, it's not as controversial as some weeks. Impact Wrestling is still dead. They're still 0.00 for their demo, which is horrific. But I'm going to run down these ratings as quickly as I can. SmackDown, last Friday, the week before the best of, did 2,108,000 viewers. That is down from the week prior, 2,240,000. The opening of AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and LA Knight, where AJ Styles explained his actions, and Nick Aldis announced the three-way that's going to take place this Friday on SmackDown for the number one contendership for Roman Reigns' belt. That opening did 2,320,000 viewers. That was the high point. The low point from that SmackDown, very rare to go under 2 million. But AJ Styles backstage with the OC. Remember when we were having fun with Mia Yim? Mia Yim, if this is AJ Styles and I'm Mia Yim, obviously she's much prettier, but she was on AJ Styles like, and it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't stop. She just kept on. That was the low point, along with Bobby Lashley and Santos Escobar. The first half of their match, that only did 1,990,000. Just a drop under 2 million, but when was the last time we heard anything under 2 million on SmackDown? Oh, this past Friday, I'm sure. The positive from last Friday SmackDown, the opening, after the openings with AJ, Randy, and LA Knight, they maintained their audience. At 8:15, they were at 2,135,000. And at the end of the show, they were at 2,106,000. So they maintained their audience throughout the show. The negative, not much, other than that quarter being under 2 million. And the 8-woman tag match, that Holiday Brawl, they lost 65,000 viewers as the match went on. Rampage last Friday, 363,000 viewers. That is up from the week prior is 308. In fact, I think AEW programming all across the board was up this past week. The high point from last Friday's Rampage was Orange Cassidy versus Rocky Romero's opening, which was 413,000 viewers. The low point was the first half of the Hardys versus the Kingdom, which only did 333,000 viewers. The high point, obviously, we have a quarter that broke 400,000 viewers. The negative, Orange Cassidy and Rocky Romero lost 60,000 viewers as the match went on. Hardys versus the Kingdom, not only did they draw the lowest of the night, but they lost 30,000 viewers as the match went on. And El Hijo del Vikingo versus Black Taurus, that main event lost 25,000 viewers as that match went on. It was the second lowest of the night. Collision last Saturday did 489,000 viewers. That is up from the week prior's 457. The high point was the first half of Bryan Danielson versus Claudio Castagnoli. That did 530,000 viewers. The low point, got to feel bad for her, guys. Thunder Rosa's return. Thunder Rosa and Abaddon versus Julie Hart and Sky Blue. And the first half of Andrade versus Eddie Kingston. That did 452,000 viewers. The positive, 3/4 of Collision. There's only 8 quarters on that show, but 3/4 were above 500,000, which we haven't seen in a while. Brian Cage, the viewership for Brian Cage keeps strong. He faced Keith Lee last week. That match increased 40,000 viewers as it went on. The negative, and let's be honest, Thunder Rosa's debut bombed. It was the lowest segment of the night. The match lost 30,000 viewers as it went on. Plus, Claudio versus Bryan Danielson lost 40,000 viewers as that match went on. And Eddie Kingston versus Andrade, going into the final 2 quarters of the show, only gained 2,000 viewers as that match went on. Raw, from this past Monday, the absolute greatest of Raw, of WWE for 2023, turned out to be the absolute worst rating in its history. 698,000 viewers. That's what Raw scored on Monday. Down from the week prior's 1,562,000. The high point from Raw was the opening promo made by The Miz and highlights of AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins that did 949,000 viewers. The low point was the highlights of Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch in a cage, the Chelsea Green lowlights package, and the interview with Jey Uso. There you go. Jey Uso, once again, the lowest of Raw. Can't explain it. It did 540,000 viewers. The positive, nothing really. I mean, it was the best of, so whatever. The negative, last year's best of WWE on Raw scored 1,074,000 viewers. Just to give you an idea how many less people this year watched. And I honestly think 2023 was a better year than 2022, if you really think about it. NXT from this past Tuesday did 670,000 viewers. Now, unfortunately, I didn't put the high and lows for NXT this week. You got to forgive me for that. I didn't save it, but I do have the positive and the negatives, I do have the high. Raw Underground with Dijak versus, who did he face again? My friends, who did Dijak face once again? I'm always fair. I call him like Puerto Rican Tatanka. He looks like a Puerto Rican Tatanka. What's his name again? Somebody bail me out in the chat. There's like a 5-second delay. So that's why you'll always hear me ask the question twice. Somebody had to have watched NXT. Come on. Raw, the NXT Underground. You're going to make me remember it myself? Eddie Thorpe. Somebody said Jim Thorpe. That was a famous football player, but you're close enough. Eddie Thorpe. Eddie Thorpe and Dijak. Raw, I keep saying Raw Underground. NXT Underground. That was the high point. That match increased 120,000 viewers as it went on. They got more viewers during that match than when The Undertaker showed up. I know it's a little unfair to say it that way, but that's impressive, man. The only quarter that was in line with NXT's averages in recent months was that quarter. The first 90 minutes of NXT was steady, albeit a little bit lower than usual. Their opening, their ratings were 684, 688, 656, 660, 664, 659. You take away that main event, everything else was consistent. And that's what NXT has had for the last 3 of the last 4 weeks. A very consistent number throughout the night. No big peaks or valleys. But Dijak and Eddie Thorpe, 120,000 viewer increase as that fight went on. The negative, Ilya's segment, was the lowest of the night. And Joe Gacy versus Joe Coffey lost 45,000 viewers as that match went on. That leaves us with Dynamite this past Wednesday. Dynamite Wednesday scored 843,000 viewers. That is up from the week prior, 782. The high point from Dynamite was the first half of Jon Moxley versus Swerve, which is obviously the Big Bang Theory lead-in. That did 984,000 viewers. The second highest quarter of the night was the second half of that match, which scored 869. So there was a big viewership drop, but you know that quarter lead-in, we've been talking about that for 2 years now. That Big Bang lead-in has been falsely inflating the overall numbers. But if you take that quarter aside, the second quarter was still strong. The low point from Dynamite was Chris Statlander versus Sky Blue. That did 782,000 viewers. Now, the positive from Dynamite this past Wednesday, after you take away that inflated lead-in by the Big Bang Theory, the rating from hour 1 kept their audience. They had 869, 839, and 868. So after that lead-in, they maintained a steady audience. The second hour scored lower, but it remained consistent after the Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston match. The 4 quarters for the second hour was 792, 832, 792, 782. That 40,000 viewership drop was during Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston. So that match was the second lowest quarter of the night with only 791,000 viewers. Jon Moxley versus Swerve versus Jay White, they lost 120,000 viewers as the match went on. But again, a lot of those viewers were Big Bang lead-ins. So, but that is your ratings for this week. So, we'll do a couple of super shout-outs. We'll spend about 5 minutes asking some quick questions in the chat, answering them. We'll finish at the 2-hour mark and call it a night. Dream 101, thank you for the 2 spot. Sasha thinks she's bigger than WWE. Says who? Says who? She believes that she is worth a big price. She wants creative freedom. She wants to have a brand outside of WWE. And WWE, it's very, very complicated. No reason for me to get into the whole rant again. This is your interpretation of Sasha Banks. This is a lot of people's interpretation online. And also understand this. Some of your, listen, I'm not the biggest Sasha Banks fan, obviously, but a lot of your interpretation about her and money and greed is based on what you read from other people. You did not read from anybody in the last 24 hours that the issues with Sasha and the WWE are her brand. No, people said, oh, she wants too much money. So when you get that incomplete perception of Sasha, you think, oh, she's a greedy bitch. You know, she thinks her shit don't stink. That might be a little bit unfair to Mercedes Moné. EJB, do I know the ratings for the Attitude Era? Absolutely. I don't have them in front of me, but I started doing my hotline in 97, and we did ratings every single week. Only difference is back then, you didn't do it by total number of viewers. You did it by rating. And we would be like, you know, how we would do it back in the day, this is just an example. Raw, hour number 1, 3.8. Hour number 2, 3.9. Overrun, 4.2 for overall rating of 3.95. You know, that would be the rating. Nitro, hour 1 did 2.6. Hour 2 did a 2.7 for a composite of 2.65. Last week, that's how we would do it. You never talked about the total number of viewers. And I brought this up before. I've been covering ratings now for 27 years. And I could tell you that Impact Wrestling, for me, was the start of where it was no longer the point, whatever ratings. They still do it with demos. You notice how they do that with demos? Oh, the SmackDown did a 0.45 in the demo. They're still doing, eventually that'll go away. Impact Wrestling, when their numbers started to get low, really low, Impact fans would cover it up by saying the total number of viewers. And I'll give you a spot-on example. Anybody remember what I used to call the Aces and Eights storyline? We made a shirt, and we were threatened by Impact of a lawsuit if we didn't take the shirt down. I used to call the Aces and Eights the Aces and 0.8s, because whenever TNA started that storyline, their ratings dropped to 0.8. So we actually had a shirt, Aces and 0.8s. I still have the graphics. So we used to cover Impact's rating and be like, look at this, they're down to a 0.8 rating. So when they continued to decline, people started saying, what sounds bigger, a 0.5 or 611,000 viewers? Oh, let's say that 611,000 viewers tuned in. That's, to me, where it started in the wrestling world. I'm not saying that it didn't start earlier than anywhere else, but in the wrestling world, Impact's numbers were getting so slow that they started getting into total viewership to make it sound bigger. If they didn't do total viewership back then, why would we call it the Aces at 0.8s? We still did decimal points for the ratings. Look it up. In fact, on my Twitter, I'll post a little bit of our Aces at 0.8 graphics from back in the day. They threatened lawsuit. We were going to have a whole deck of cards, too, for 0.8s. But, yeah, that is legit. So, okay. Anybody have any quick question in the chat before we jet? Once Devon revealed he was in Aces and Eights, he was out. I thought Devon was one of the better ones in it. You know, it was kind of, hard sell, the whole stuff. Listen, that storyline died when they gave us 6 different TV segments to try to explain why Bully Ray was the leader all along. He was getting his ass kicked. Remember, he was going to marry Brooke? People remember when Bubba was going to marry Brooke Hogan? Bobby Means, he believes that if Jeff Jarrett had not let Dixie Carter take over TNA, he'd still be on national TV, be legit competition for WWE. I don't know how we could say that because we don't know what talent would be there by now. But I will say this, would we have had an AEW if TNA was still stronger, than it ended up? If Impact Wrestling, if TNA would still remain stronger before Dixie Carter kind of spoiled the soup a little bit, it wasn't just her fault, let's be honest, but would AEW have been created? There's no guarantee. That's why I hate using what ifs, because there's so many things that transpired that it's not simply like, oh, what if this didn't happen? Or what if this didn't happen? You know, you don't know who would have come out of the woodwork and maybe have done something. You know, what if WWE never shut down WCW? What if they did create a second show? Would TNA have been created? You could say that almost about anything. But, you know, Jeff Jarrett, maybe he would have done a better job. But it's hard to say it after all these years. It's really hard because we don't know what kind of roster they would have. AG, what do I see for wrestling for the year ahead? Coney winning in Mania, absolutely. Tag titles will be split up. We will see, some champions that we would not have normally seen. I think Gunther will ultimately lose his championship. He may go on to bigger and better, championships down the line. We will see some groups split up. I think Imperium will split up. I mean, I haven't thought about the year yet. There is so many things, but we have to get past the Royal Rumble. It'll give us a better track, but you got the draft that comes up. There's going to be so many things. I will tell you this, as far as WWE goes, as far as TV, I think the biggest deal is going to be where Raw ends up. I think it's where Raw ends up. I think that'll be the biggest deal. It'll feel a little weird to see SmackDown on USA Network, but after a week or two, I don't think it'll matter anymore. But it's going to be interesting to see where Raw ends up. So, OTS Tribal Queen, happy 4 months. I got to change it to made men and women, but who's the devil? I want to go with Tony Khan. I would actually get a kick if it was Mustafa Ali. It's not going to be MJF. I think it would be really stupid to do that in Long Island. Would really make no sense. For me, if I wanted to really give an insanely outside the box answer, I would go with Britt Baker or Tony Khan. And I still think there's this Ring of Honor aspect to it. I think it's a faction of people that are going to destroy MJF and leave him laying in a pool of blood, and that crowd is going to throw garbage in that ring. I see who's going to be the leader of everybody. Adam Cole seems too predictable. It almost feels like AEW is forced to change it so they're not too predictable. But my preference would be Tony Khan, Adam Cole, Britt Baker, Mustafa Ali. I don't even know if I would choose Ali. I just think it would be pretty cool. He was the leader of Retribution. Let him be the leader of this faction, but I think it's a Ring of Honor faction. I think the Undisputed Era reforms. I think we will see Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole and who am I leaving out? Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. Who am I leaving out? Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. Why am I forgetting someone? Oh, Roderick Strong. Come on, guys. I'm sorry, Roddy. Roddy at some points was my favorite member of the group, but I could be down an alley in the middle of the night with my gold chain and have money everywhere, and some guy in a hoodie comes up to me, and he's like, give me all your fucking money. And it's Roderick Strong. And if I looked at him and said, I'm not giving you nothing, I honestly I would picture Roddy Strong, give me your money. I'm not giving you shit. Oh, come on. Roddy's the most unintimidating person around. And I say that jokingly. They say, who would you ever go in a desert hole, in a hole with in a war? Who would you go in a hole with? Roderick Strong would be the last person I put in a hole with. So he's kind of like a puppy dog. You go to, you want to get a pit bull, you want to get a Doberman, you want to get a German Shepherd, and then you're looking at all those dogs, and then in the corner is this little mutt, just cute little mutt. That's Roddy Strong. It's Roddy Strong. Where is the lie? I think, CM Punk gone? You bet believe Bobby Fish will be back there. All right. Yeah, Roddy's been accusing MJF as a diversion. It's a diversion. Devil Wears Pradas. I'm telling you, I've been saying Britt Baker. When I first said Britt Baker a couple of months ago, people were like, Britt Baker? Where are you getting that from? Britt Baker will be under one of those masks tonight. Remember, this is another, I'll say this in closing. This is why we're cutting the shows down to 2 plus Patreon, and why Kevin and I are going to spend more time on Mondays. Because what will happen online is we are going to put little clips online. The full show will be where I said earlier, but clips will be available, because I think it's time that, when Britt Baker gets revealed, like people be like, oh yeah, this guy said this online like 3 months ago. Like my clips, unfortunately, get buried in the overall shows because I don't put clips online. I don't have that much time. I'm swamped because every day there's something else I got to do. So having those 3-4 days off will allow me to do that. And it'll be more organized too. Because when Kevin and I do the shows, we're going to make sure that our conversations are organized so we can just pull this out and throw a thumbnail on it and put it online. So you will see a boatload of clips. In fact, I might even create a second channel, and it might just be DTKC show clips. I haven't decided yet, but, to be continued, That's why we're taking a few weeks to set everything up. We want to take our time and do it right. The devil will be revealed tonight. You have to reveal it. Listen, it's world's end. It's MJF's world coming to an end. Something is coming to an end tonight. MJF will continue. I mean, if he didn't sign with AEW, that would be insane. I think that would be the most insane story to close out 2023, that he didn't sign. But I was told he signed early in the year. I see somebody taking out MJF. His contract is up. Go to Vince. They'll just say, go up north. Go to Vince. Go ahead. Go to Vince. And then we don't hear nothing from MJF for a few weeks. Let him get his surgery. And then there's little cryptic videos pop up, little cryptic things. Maybe a scarf is left underneath the ring. Maybe somebody opens a box and it's a scarf. Maybe somebody opens it up and it's a finger with the ring. I think there's going to be little teasers, and MJF is going to reveal he signed it, he ain't going nowhere. That's why I kind of have a hard time Tony Khan being the devil, because how do you explain MJF signing a contract? If I'm Tony Khan and I'm the devil, I go in the middle of the ring with my afro. Ah, come on, guys. Hello? Yes. Oh, I got to check. All right, I'll check it Tuesday. Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, insurance business. I can't do anything till Tuesday anyway. Sorry about that. I hate getting interrupted during shows, but if I'm Tony Khan and I'm revealed as the devil, like I can't pitch you storyline wise. He goes in the middle of the ring, pulls it off, and then he's like, here's MJF's contract. He just tears it up. Like there's nobody higher up. Unless you incorporate Warner Brothers Discovery in this storyline. That's why I kind of have a hard time MJF, being forced out by Tony Khan. There's nobody else. This isn't like a Ric Flair, Vince McMahon thing from 2002. And anybody remember? The consortium is me. We're partners. Remember Vince pulling his earlobe? We have nobody that could be in that position. So, okay, I'm going to jet out of here. So if you're around tomorrow night, like I said, you're welcome to join me here, 10 o'clock Eastern. We'll stay on until about probably 12:30 in the morning. We'll reign in the new year together. I might put just the ball in the corner of the screen so we could watch the ball drop. But the last couple of years of showing fireworks across the globe and people performing. First of all, most of those people performing, they sounded like shit. Then last year I got hit with copyright stuff. And it's like, you know what, let's just talk wrestling. Let's talk whatever. We'll just have a regular, fun discussion tomorrow, and we'll reign in the new year. So I will be up here starting at 10 p.m. Eastern. You're welcome to join me. If not, I'll be here Monday after Raw. And next week, I will post everywhere the link for the Discord for anybody that's going to tune in live on Mondays. And then I'm also going to update, the sections for channel members. I'm going to update, I'm going to put a video announcement up so everybody knows exactly where to go. So believe me, by the time we get to January 29th, you will be prepared, you'll be ready, and it's going to be easy peasy. There's nothing that's going to be complicated about it. You literally just pop up on Discord, and here we are doing our thing. And I promise you, I'll leave you with this again. Kevin and I are taking this shit very seriously. We see what's going on. We see all those Texas sharpshooters, feeding bullshit. We see even our friends, just totally because of the greed factor. And the worst thing about it is there's so many wrestling fans out there that there's more than enough fans for everybody to have their audience. We're not looking to take away anybody's audience, especially our friends. We're not looking to hurt anybody, but it's about time that, we start showing this crop of fans out there why we were number one for so many years. And yeah, I do regret the falling out that he and I had several years ago. But I think at the end of the day, it's a blessing in disguise. I think that time away just strengthened the reasons why we're back. And I'm telling you, you give us, put it this way, before the end of 2024, you will see the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show back in the top 10. At minimum, top 20. But I really believe top 10, you're going to see. And people out there that act like we don't exist, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. And for our friends, I hope they're right there with us. But I'm not going to be number 11 because my friend is number 10. I'm going to be number 10. They're going to be number 11. Or we could be tied for number 10. Unfortunately, for some people out there, that's not good enough. So I'm excited. I hope you are as well. And I'm so looking forward to 2024. There's going to be so much great shit to talk about. So you all be well. Have a good rest of your weekend. If I don't talk to you by tomorrow night, Happy New Year. All the best to you. And, we'll continue the conversation in the very near future. So I am Don Tony bidding you farewell and Happy New Year.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup. and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.